All right, what is going on today, chat? Welcome in Grade Review Day, episode 46. Chicken, I know you're excited. You got, let's see. I think you have 5 cards today that are getting reviewed, I'm pretty sure. Tyler, Jester, welcome. Woozy, welcome. Goofiest Goober, gotcha, yeah. I was gonna say, I remember the, Ryan, what's going on? Not much, man. Just chilling. Excited for some grade review as always. Most, what's going on? Hello, Govna. What up, what up? Over on YouTube, what's going on? So welcome in, guys. Just about to get this grade review episode 46 started here in a second. So welcome in if this is your first time. Eva, welcome. Giant, welcome. Ben, we are about to review some community members' cards to give a free PSA grade review. Ben, thank you so much for following. I appreciate that very much. I know, reviews. Giant, what's going on, man? Long time no see, my friend. And right off the bat, it's been pretty crazy how much this Mew EX has skyrocketed, huh, chat? It is insane how much this card has gone up in price. I think it went from I posted about it not too long ago on my Instagram, maybe like a day or two ago. Like, I found this thing back in my unprocessed section. Oh, it is grade review time. It is grade review time. How can I get into this? So the easiest way, my friend, is just to go into my my bio. Should have a link to my link tree. From there, all you have to do is click or tap that Discord icon that's going to be floating right up on the top. From there, it will give you a invite to join the Discord, and then you just submit your cards in the grade review. Oh, I agree, most. It is so nice. But yeah, it went from, like, you know, it really wasn't that long ago, from like 85 when I picked it up to almost like over 300, which is insane. Yeah, Ben, well, you have come to the right place. You've definitely come to the right place. Far, thank you so much for the follow. All right, I think we just might as well get right into it, right, chat? So again, welcome for those of you who are new here. Welcome in. My name is Galaxia Gaming, and every Wednesday I do what is called grade review. So what is grade review, you might ask? Well, let me tell you. So what grade review is every Wednesday I review 15 to 20 cards from members of the community who submit in our Discord. And all I do is just based off of my past experiences doing this as a side business. I kind of give my assumptions and my observations on what I think your cards would get if submitted to PSA. In addition, if we have enough people in chat, normally I like to wait until there's around 15 to 20 people. I'll also open up certain polls for chat to weigh in as well, just in case if I need an extra set of hands or an extra set of eyes to kind of help weigh in. So not only is it myself that'd be giving a grade, but it would also be chat. So it gives you a really nice idea on whether or not a card you have is worth grading, because we all know, you know, it does cost money to grade, and this service is absolutely free. So without further ado, we are in episode 46 today. So we've done this 46 times, once every Wednesday. I think I've only had to shift it once or twice, which is pretty crazy. So let's get right into it. So if this is your first time, the big things that we're looking for with any grading, whether you're grading through PSA, Beckett, CGC, or any other reputable grading company, are the 4 main grading criteria, which are centering, corners, edges, and surface. So I'll be going over those all day today on every card that I review. However, for modern, I tend to kind of have the notion that it's a PSA 10 or bust. And with modern, the 2 biggest things that kind of hold that back is centering and corners. So for modern, that's really where I'm going to kind of focus my efforts for the most part. But anything outside of modern, and I consider outside of modern anything past the last 3 sets, so Scarlet and Violet, Sword and Shield, and Sun and Moon. So we might have to do a little bit of some extras. How much can you make grading cards? It all depends, Far. It really all depends, man. Sometimes you can get some good luck, some good pickups for grading. So it really depends. Yes, thank you, Chicken. All right, so without further ado, we're going to get right into it. So first off, I always start these by reviewing subscribers. So subscribers always have priority for grade review. So thank you, WG, over on Discord, for submitting your cards, and we are about to go through. Being a grader, so technically I'm not like, I don't work for a grading company per se. I don't work for PSA, Beckett, or CGC. All I'm speaking of is all my experience. I've submitted cards through PSA since 2017, and the reason why I strictly stick with PSA is I keep track of all of my assessed grades, and then I document what actually came back. So if I think a card is going to get a PSA 7 and it comes back as a PSA 7, I kind of count that as almost like a batting average. So all of the years of kind of collecting this data ultimately translates into what I'm going to be talking about today. Yeah, no worries, Far. I know it's kind of a weird way of explaining it. So again, with modern, we're really looking for PSA 10 or bust. And this Mew EX, man, this card has been skyrocketing in price. So a few tools that I have at my disposal today. So the big one that we're going to have if we need it is this little magnifying tool. So it really allows me to kind of get to the edges and the corners of this card, really zoom in on certain areas that we need to. In addition, I'm going to be trying out a new pen tool today where we can kind of draw on the card. We can kind of make some highlights on areas that we want to focus on. So that will be in combination with the magnifying tool. So let's get right into it. So the Mew EX, let's take a look. So the centering on this card looks pretty good, maybe a little bit fatter on the top, but as a rule of thumb, PSA, based on their website, they allow up to 60-40 on the front. But in my opinion, if you were to ask me if that's really upheld, I would say probably not, just based off of my personal experience. It's more of like 55-45. So when I talk about centering, we're really talking about this silver edge, right? So when we compare this, the ratio from the top to bottom and then the left to the right. So when I say it's a little bit top heavy, from my observation, and it's always nice, I always kind of recommend this when I talk about centering at all, is always make sure to kind of do this on your own. So just take a ruler, something like that with like millimeter markers, and measure the top and the bottom. So ideally what we're looking for when we're talking about centering is we're looking for a 50 to 50 ratio, meaning that, for example, if the top of this was a 1/2 inch, we also want the bottom to be a 1/2 inch as well. So that's what that means when I talk about the centering. So far, centering looks good. The only thing that I probably see, and you guys might have a little bit more difficult time than me, because just for context, I'm reviewing all this on my computer, so I have a really bright monitor. I have kind of the ability to zoom in on this stuff, so that's why I'm going to try to do my best to kind of talk through with what I see. And so the first thing I see, which it will be more interesting to see if it translates on the back, is this potentially looks like a little bit of a nick there, very tiny, but with this little magnifier tool, we can probably see it a little bit. I'm not too sure if you guys can or cannot. Mark, thanks so much for the follow on TikTok. Appreciate you. So as we kind of look at the edges here, edges so far look good. Again, we're really kind of looking more towards like the corners and the centering. Additionally, one thing that I'm seeing, and I'm going to circle it real quick, and let me just tidy this up, and let's make it a little bit more green, just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So yes, we're going to select that. Perfect. Okay, so where I have it in red, there's a little bit of a, man, it's a little bit of a, clean that up. There we go. A little bit of a circle here. And so normally what I would recommend is just taking something like a microfiber cloth to kind of wipe that little black dot right where the tip of my mouse is. So that's kind of what I'm talking about, that we can probably remove, because for context, if PSA sees that, they're not going to wipe that off on your behalf. They're not going to clean your cards. They're not going to do anything with your cards. So we want to make sure that that's off when we submit, because we don't want that to affect the surface upgrade. So let's flip it over and see if that issue is on the back. The issue meaning that little kind of corner ding, I guess, on the top. And so from the top, we don't see anything. However, G-Unit, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. On the back, we do see what appears to be a little bit of whitening on that corner there. Additionally, I don't know what this is right where the tip of my mouse is. I'm not really sure if that's something that's on the card that can be removed, again, with a microfiber cloth, or if it's an issue with the card itself. So as I kind of keep looking around the card, the centering on the right side looks a little bit thicker than the left, but I think we're in, so the back is a little bit thicker in terms of leniency. So it's around 70-30 on the back and around 60-40 on the front. So we are just kind of, let me just scroll down just a little bit so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So the bottom corners look great and the back looks good. So I would say, so again, we're pretty much kind of make or breaking the 10 here. What do you mean by 70-30 on the back? Yeah, Alex, that's a good question. So again, with centering, we're really kind of measuring this edge right here, right? So if the left and the right, so what I'm talking about is as long as one side is like 70% and 30% ratio, then that kind of hits the qualifications of having a 10 centering subgrade. However, if this was even, you know, like let's say 29 to 71, then it wouldn't. So that's what I mean. My pick wasn't marked for review. How can I do it? So it all is based off of a first come first serve, Kevin. So depending on how far down the queue you are, you might not be this week. However, if you do want priority for whatever reason, which some people do, the server also does offer a subscription for priority grade review in addition to some other cool perks too. Yeah, I have people even back at like end of November, like mid-November, end of November. So yeah, I would say with this kind of degree of whitening here on the top left here, so we have 1, 2, and potentially this. I'm not too sure if we can remove this. So if you can't remove this, your odds of getting a 10 are probably pretty slim. In addition to this potential whitening in the corners. But if you can, then you might have a chance. But I also would still be kind of hesitant with potentially some issues on that top part that's not translating to the back. In addition, you'd have to remove that as well. So you have a little bit of a homework assignment, I guess, to kind of verify that. So yeah. Let's see. Angel, what is user sent this? I'm trying to follow along with you. So right now, Angel, I'm actually in the cadet grade review channel. So only people who have subscribed under the cadet tier have access to it. So I'm looking at that right now. So once I'm done with WGs, I go back into the normal grade review. Yes, I'm grading cards. Yep. Well, I'm basically giving my assessment of cards. I shouldn't say like I'm an official grader or anything like that. I just speak from experience because I sell Pokemon cards and grade as a side business, so I'm just basically talking about my experiences with it, with the whole process. Awesome. Well, welcome in. I appreciate it, and thank you so much for the follow. Yeah, so sorry about that, Kevin. I know it's frustrating, but I definitely appreciate your understanding. New to streams, do you know your hit rate on your assumptions? Yeah, I think I have. I'd have to recalculate because I definitely got I got 2 or 3 submissions back that I just haven't gotten around to updating. But I definitely post those on my website, but I have to just update it. And the nice thing too is that people, when they go through these processes, if they do submit through PSA, they'll actually kind of report back the findings. And for the most part, we've been pretty accurate on most of them. Okay, so next up is Jasmine's Gaze. So let's take a look. Centering on the top, bottom, left, and right look good. So some of you might be wondering, you know, with like kind of this supporter tag, there is a little bit of extra kind of like, I guess the best way to describe it, a little bit of like extension of the art, so to speak. This kind of like gray supporter bubble, it kind of slightly pushes upward a little bit. So it's not, it may look upon first glance that it might be off center, meaning that the bottom is thicker than the top, but because of that supporter kind of bleeding over that, like where that edge would be, we have to kind of consider that as being okay. But the rest of the card looks good. It's really for the modern stuff. It's really just the backs, man. It's really just the backs for the whitening. And very well centered again. The only thing that I can see in terms of any potential issues that you might have is we do have a little bit of whitening there, kind of on the center of the card. So normally when I see something like this, chat, normally I think of that as just, so in the center of the cards where you have that white cardstock, more often than not, that's just some of that little bits of dust, I guess, particles from that cardstock that sometimes get stuck to the card. And so all you have to do is just wipe that off with a microfiber cloth, because again, PSA will not do that for you. And you don't want to give them any reason to kind of deduct your surface subgrade at all. So that's why we kind of want to attempt to wipe that off. So Nacho, thanks so much for the follow, and I appreciate the likes, guys. Thank you so much. We're almost at 2K. Appreciate it. So as we kind of look around the corners here, the top left looks fine. This edge looks good. Another one, your boy kind of freaking out right now. Uh-oh. Sounds like you pulled some heat, Civic. The only other thing I can see here is, again, this looks like a little bit of some white dust that, again, we can probably remove, like I said, from the top there, from the bottom. We can probably remove that as well. But the other thing that I do see, which I don't think is like a 10 killer, so to speak, but you might want to be just careful, is that bottom right side. That bottom right side does appear to have a little bit of whitening, which may kind of distance yourself away from that 10 a bit more. But aside from that, if we can kind of address 1 and 2, those little 2 white specks that we saw there on the back, you should be able to get closer to that 10. But this might, that little white dot might, it's not like a guaranteed or like a guaranteed 10 by any means, but that might trip you up a little bit. The white dots in the top left. So the white dots in the top left, so normally so I guess this is just more of me doing this a lot, Alex. So based off of how the lighting is being taken from the picture, so you can kind of see the light source in this section. So my guess is that there is a little bit of lighting up here as well. So like, meaning that left side isn't really whitening, it's just the camera lens, or the camera flash rather, or the lighting in general. And my guess is that this is just lighting. But I can see, like, for 1, 2, I would say if those are in fact white dots, like what you're kind of picking up on, I would probably wipe those off, but most likely it's just the lighting would be my guess. But that's a good eye though, regardless. Poke, how's it going? Thank you so much for the weird explosion. And you got the Umbreon Master Ball. That's sick, Civic. Congratulations, man. That's so cool. All right, next up is Charmander. So let's take a look. So the one thing that we can kind of tell off the bat, and so again, for those of you guys who are new to kind of like what do I mean by centering and all that stuff, so this right side looks a little bit thicker than the left. So upon first glance, this looks a little bit thicker than that left side. So I would probably say, again, I'd probably measure this in person, but if you're kind of outside of that, like 60-40, or again, in my personal opinion, more of like 55-45, then you're probably going to distance yourself from that 10 because of the centering not being as close to 50-50 as it probably can. So that's the reason for that. Tay, thanks so much for following the live. Appreciate that. How do I do this? I'll let you know once I'm done with this Charmander, Jay, so definitely hold tight. So let's flip it over on the back, and ooh, I don't know what this is, chat, but I think this is going to be a huge ding. That looks like almost like a dimple for sure, almost like an impact or something. Because again, kind of like what I was talking about with Alex, the card previous, or this card now, that light source is more on this left side. And so since it's starting to get darker in this section, and let me kind of highlight it with the pen here. So as this section is getting a little bit darker, my assumption is that that's like a divot or like a puncture almost. So unfortunately with that, I don't think you're going to get the 10. You might not even get the 9 or even an 8, to be honest, because of that. Because like dimples or dents like that have a significant impact on the surface subgrade, to be honest with you. Additionally, when I was kind of talking about the right side being thicker, when we flip it over, it should be on the left, and it does translate to the left, meaning that this left side is thicker than the right. So I probably wouldn't get this graded. It most likely won't get the 10. But yeah. Is Charmander good? Yeah, I would say anything from like the starters from 151 man from an ROI perspective are really good. I love to submit it. Yeah, so if you guys want to know how to submit your cards for free for a future grade review, all you have to do is click the link in my bio, whether you're watching me on YouTube tonight or TikTok. I multi-stream to both. You will go to my link tree. All you have to do is click or tap that Discord icon on the top. From there, it will direct you to not only the Discord server, but it'll also guide you to the grade review channel. All you have to do is just make sure that you're following the rules when you're submitting your pictures. For example, I can't review cards that are in penny sleeves or top loaders or anything like that. And the more accurate pictures and the better zoom, the better quality, the better I can make an assessment to help you out. Again, it's completely for free, but I will say it is first come, first serve. And I also review up to 5 cards per person per stream. So for example, if you submit 10 cards, you know, I'd review 5 one week and 5 the other, if that makes sense. And again, it is first come, first serve. However, if you want to support not only me and make the streams even better and get priority grade review, the server also does offer a cadet subscription, and there's some other subscriptions as well, starting at $4.99 a month, which gives you priority grade review. So that's how you do it. Let's see. So let me just catch up here real quick. Burnsy and Matt, thanks for the follow. I got the Alakazam second pack. That's awesome, Jay. That's probably one of my favorite arts, to be honest, out of the 151. Is Q Today closed? Yes, it is. Is the Magneton PC promo worth getting graded? If you think it can get a 10, I think any of the Pokemon Center promos, if they're worth getting 10, they're a good chunk for sure. Wow, I got a lot of people to thank. So Dot, Kate, Ghost, Marzan, Brayon. Thank you guys so much for the follow. I really appreciate that. And we're just about to hit 4K likes on TikTok. I appreciate you guys very much. All right, let's get into the lazy sleepy Venusaur EX. Let's take a look. So centering on this bad boy looks good as well. Maybe some issue there, but that might just be lighting in that top right hand corner. It looks like a little bit of what appears to be a fold, or it might just be the texture. I'm probably leaning more towards the texture than anything, but we'll have a little bit better idea once we flip it over. But the corners look good, edges look good, everything so far so good. And on this guy, so we were kind of looking in that top right before, so now we should be really looking at that top left, and I don't see anything translating over here. However, when I'm kind of going around, one thing that I do see is this little white speck down there. So again, we're starting to kind of distance ourselves away from that more kind of like solidified 10, because the more of these little white specks that we have, the more we're going to be distancing ourselves from that 10. So we do have one there. Additionally, we might have, but that might be part of the table, we might have a little bit of one there in that top right as well, but kind of hard to tell, to be honest. But the centering looks good, the surface looks good. I would just say, you know, you might get the 10, you might get the 9 because of that little white speck, because again, there are versions that don't have it. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. So if you just kind of want to like see what happens, you know, this would probably be a good one to do it for. But I wouldn't be surprised if you got the 9 because of that little white speck. But again, I've seen some that have had worse that we've assessed as 8s and they come back as 10s. So, but who knows? All right, let me catch up with chat here. Yeah, anytime, Connor. Awesome, Alex. I appreciate that. Thank you. Is the Mew Galarian Gallery worth for grading? It really just depends, man. If you're talking about from like a return on investment perspective, the biggest rule of thumb that I always tell people is do the assessment on your own. So if you think it's going to get a 9, I would look up comps for PSA 9s and then see, you know, calculate like how much the PSA fee is going to be, how much insurance is going to cost, how much shipping is going to cost, how much you picked up the card for, right? So all those factors should be included. And so that's anytime someone says any card like is X worth grading, that's always the formula that I always apply. What software am I using? So I'm just using Chrome extensions. So the Chrome extensions I'm using today are magnifying glass hover zoom to have the hover. And I'm also using a combination of some different pen tools. So one's called Draw on Page, and another one is Web Paint Tool. So that's all I'm really doing today. If I submit right now, we'll make it. No, it won't. Because it is free, and it is first come, first serve. But if you want priority, there is a subscription on the Discord server starting at $4.99 a month. Dent on the right of the Pokeball. Let's see. Oh, maybe. That little right there. Might be something. That's a good eye, for sure. PP. Dasani and M, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. YKM, thanks so much for the follow. Appreciate that very much. All right, so next up is Zapdos EX. Again, I'd probably say out of these, out of the Mew 151, I would probably say Zapdos and Alakazam are probably my 2 favorite arts of the set. So let's take a look. So this one is kind of the same thing as that Charmander. At first glance, it appears that this right side is a little bit thicker than that left. So again, I would definitely measure those just in case. Because again, we're only seeing it through the screen. But the corners look good. We'll take the little magnifier here just to make sure. So corners look good, edges look good. Nothing notable on the image. So let's flip it over. And yeah, again, kind of what I was talking about with that Venusaur for that little bit of whitening on the corner. This is a great example on some of these cards, just simply don't have them, right? So the top right, top left, bottom left, and the bottom right, those corners look fantastic. Additionally, the centering looks really good, and I'm not seeing anything like what PP was kind of calling out before on the Venusaur. We do have a little bit of something there, but that looks like something that you can probably just wipe off, in my honest opinion, right between the M as in Mary and N as in Nancy. Probably wipe that off. But aside from that, looks like a really good card. I would say that this is probably a good 10 contender, warranting that the centering on the front is within kind of that 55-45 or 60-40 technically, but I'd say this has a pretty good shot at a 10 in my opinion. Yeah, it's really nice, dude. It is a really nice card. All right, so thank you WG again, not only for subscribing to the channel, but thank you for your submission. Hopefully that helps you out. So now we're going to the non-subs. So let me get the next one going. And while I do, I appreciate you guys hanging out with me today. All the follows, shares, and likes, just in case if I missed anyone. And again, if you guys want your cards reviewed for free in a future grade review, all you have to do is click the link in the description. It'll send you to my link tree. From there, all you have to do is go through the onboarding process. It'll guide you through the grade review. And then next, you just have to make sure to review all of the information, such as how to take good pictures of your cards and whatnot. Again, it's completely free. It's first come, first serve, so just keep that in mind. And I normally review 15 to 20 cards per stream. I do this every Wednesday. But if you want a faster turnaround time, you also can subscribe to the Discord server, starting at $4.99 a month, which gives you priority, as well as some other cool perks like some coupons and some other fun stuff. So appreciate it. Let's see, kind of want to get my 151 master set completely graded. That'd be kind of cool. You are up next, chicken. You are up next. GameStop does PSA. Yeah, they do. They definitely do. All right. So next up, we have the Mew EX. Well, first, Goofiest Goober, aka Chicken Boy. Thank you so much for your submission and being so patient with me. Mango, thanks so much for the follow. What's my opinion on GameStop grading? I actually just made a video about it that I just posted the pros. So if you want to check that out. And I think either today or tomorrow, I'm going to be posting about the cons. So I definitely have a video on both. But all in all, overall, I think it's a good. I think it's good for a person that doesn't submit a lot of cards at the same time. I think it's good. Momo, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate the good vibes. All right. So the Mew EX. First off, can we appreciate the backdrop Blastoise here? Even though that's not Lego, at least I don't think it is. That's a cool backdrop nonetheless. So pretty dope. All right, let's take a look. So let me just zoom out just a little bit so we can kind of get the full effect here. And let me just zoom down a little bit. There we go. We'll have to do it that way. See a little bit of my background there. So centering looks good, to be honest. Centering looks good on the front. From this picture, corners look good. You guys might not be able to see the bottom, just as how how close the picture is to the bottom of the image, but that's okay. The front looks good. Let's take a look at the back. Let's see. So centering looks good. So the only thing that I see off the bat is I don't know what's underneath this O in the Pokemon. So I'd probably take a look at that. Again, you've been here in this stream to kind of hear the whole spiel of the microfiber cloth. So you might want to address that right there. But aside from that, I believe that this right corner looks good. This left corner possibly looks good. I don't know if that's just the pixels on my screen or what, but that might be something in that top left, but I'm probably leaning more towards no than yes. I do see, however, a little bit of whitening from this picture on that bottom left-hand corner. In addition to some whitening on this right side, but I think that's also can kind of get the microfiber treatment as well. But I would say all in all, I would say that the big things to check for is that thing underneath the O, wipe that off on that right side, and possibly that little whitening on the bottom left. So if you can kind of get rid of the first two, or even a little bit there, maybe, I'm not too sure. But if you can get rid of those two, you probably have a good shot. But I probably say it wouldn't be guaranteed because of that little whitening on the bottom. So that's kind of my general thoughts on that. Slackoth. Taking it easy. All right, so now we can zoom in a little bit so you guys can see the full picture here. There we go. All right, so let's take a look at this bad boy. Centering looks great. I don't see any major print lines, so like the full art cards like this, that's probably the only thing that I'll probably add in terms of like when I review modern. It's more of like centering and corners, but for the full arts that do have a lot of hollow, we're really kind of looking for print lines too. To be honest, but from this picture specifically, I don't see any, which is good. And again, this card, kind of the same thing. Honestly, like the only trend that I kind of see is that if you just use, like I said, a microfiber cloth to kind of get rid of some of these like little white specks, so you have one above the K here and one above the M potentially, you're gonna do yourself a really good service on getting a more improved surface grade. So again, the top right corner looks great, top left corner looks good. Maybe a little bit of fuzz there near that top left corner you can probably get rid of. But this card looks really good. The only thing I can probably see, but I don't know if it's because of the background or what, is that bottom right hand corner, but that might be more of kind of the material of this kind of backdrop. So don't hold me against that. And again, you have a little bit of it's weird because it was on the other one too. It was on the Mew EX, is that little white speck there on the right side. So I think this one looks actually really good. If you can kind of address, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 little white dots there, I think you should be good. So hey Plague, how's it going? So let's go to the Squirtle, a big one. So let's take a look. So this one, I think, again, I kind of mentioned it on a few other ones for WG submission, but I would probably just double check the right side compared to the left. At first glance, on my end, the right side looks a tad bit thicker than the left. But again, if you're kind of within that 55-45 or, you know, technically 60-40, then you should be good for the Squirtle. But I would just say, again, just use a ruler that has millimeter markers to kind of get a good idea. But I think if you were to ask me, I think it's good. It looks good. But that's just something, again, if you want to be thorough, I would just double check that just in case. But aside from that, the corners look great. So let's flip it over. Same thing. I would say, because again, I'm thinking more like the right side possibly looks a little bit thicker than the left, so it also kind of translates over, which kind of solidifies that a little bit more to me, to be honest. Because we are seeing this left side now being a little bit thicker than the right. Vic, thanks so much for the rose. I appreciate that. And Michael, thanks so much for the follow. So we do have that. So the top corner looks good. I think what's happening here too, because I saw this on the last two, is I think it's weird. The shine of the Lego piece, I think, is like making me think that there's whitening here, where in reality there's not. So I'm going to kind of take that under the assumption that there is none if that lighting flare is there. But I think that's really it. I think really the only thing that you probably have going against you, so I'll just double check with your measurements, is just to make sure that this right side is within that 60-40 or 55-45 on the front, and within, you know, 70-30 to 50-50 from the left to the right. But other than that, I don't see any whitening, so I think you should be good on the Squirtle, which again is huge. And honestly, it looks like the same for this Charmeleon too. A little bit thicker on the right than it does so on the left. So again, the exact same statement applies here as well. But aside from that, I'm kind of looking just quick just to see if there's any print lines or anything like that. I don't see any, which is good. And then on the back, looks from this picture, it looks pretty good. I don't see anything wrong with the corners. Maybe there, because that, again, that lens flare or that flash off the shoulder of the Blastoise in the background is more on the top. But there might be something there on that top left-hand corner. And maybe on that bottom left. And possibly, I think the bottom right, though, is more of like the floor that this is kind of sitting on. But that would probably kind of, if those are there, I'd probably say that this probably wouldn't get the 10, because it looks like there's at least 2 points of mild whitening on the corner. So probably in addition to that centering, this probably wouldn't get the 10. But again, I would just anything that I mentioned about centering, always double check. But I think if those white dots are there, I probably don't think that it would get the 10. And last, but certainly not least, is the Gengar EX. So let's take a look. So this one looks a little bit rougher from a quick observation. And so the first thing that I'm seeing is, let's see. So the top from this one's a little bit grainier than the others, which is fine. I think we should have enough to work with here. But the big thing that I saw, and it's going to probably translate over to the back, is these kind of issues here on the corner. So on the bottom here, the edges are a little bit rough. Probably even see a little bit on the top left-hand side. Nick, when I'm done with this Gengar, I'll definitely let you know. Just hang tight real quick, and I'll let you know how to submit your cards. So the bottom left corner is a little bit rough. The bottom right corner is a little bit rough. So my guess is when we flip this over, we'll probably see the same thing. And we do. So we see some even in like the top left, we're seeing it translate to the top right. Right here with that kind of chunked out white part. And we do have some little white specks again that could probably just be wiped off or removed. But I'd say the biggest issue with this Gengar EX so far is really the corners and the bottom edges more than anything. But it looks like we have enough people in here. And so I'm always interested to see what you guys think. So this is going to be the first time we're opening this up tonight. So if this is your first time here, when there is certain cards that I need a little bit extra help with, I like to open it up for chat. So if you guys want to vote on what you think this Gengar EX would get, type in !grade followed by the number. Again, that's !grade followed by the number on what you think this Gengar EX would get as a PSA grade. And so what's going to happen is, whether you're on YouTube or TikTok, wherever you're watching me from tonight, both the winning votes will kind of tally and combine, and then the winning vote will be the chat grade. So again, !grade followed by the number to vote on what you think this Gengar EX would get. Again, for a quick recap, really the only big things that we're seeing is really kind of the corners is like the major issue. And we've kind of flipped it over. We also see some more corner dings and corner issues on that top right as well. So while you guys are voting, again, one more time, it's !grade followed by the number. I'm going to catch up with chat. So I'll keep this poll running for about another 30 seconds or so while I catch up. Yeah, centering was a bit off on that back. You are correct, Professor. You are correct, my friend. Oh yeah, for sure. Sergo, I bet if we had a little bit more of different angles on this card, just judging by how the edges and the corners are, I also agree that there's probably some scratches that we probably can't see right away based off how this looks. So I definitely understand. Sergo, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. Give the grader yeah, just give him a 20 and a Twinkie, right? All right, let me wrap up the poll here. Professor, thanks so much for the follow. All right, so let me wrap this up. Okay, and so the winning vote for chat, before I forget. So chat, the winning vote, so you guys are thinking collectively, you guys are thinking a PSA 5 is the winning vote. So now how this works, so I'll save that over on the side and it'll probably go away, but that's okay, is now it's my turn. So what do I think this Gengar EX would get? So the big thing that I noticed right off the bat is really the corners, right? So the corners have a pretty significant issue both on the top and towards the bottom. You can kind of see some of this fraying on the bottom there. So when we flip it over, we see a little bit more significant folds on the top here. So it's almost like it's peeling, right? So the card is starting to peel, which is not good. So as we kind of look on this, you can kind of see a little bit of shadowing too, kind of on this corner here. So normally when I see this during a grader view, that tells me that these edges are folded so much that there's actually a shadow that's applying based on the direction of the light. And you can kind of see that kind of translate to the back here as well when we look at the bottom edge, right? So you kind of see that a little bit on the bottom left and the bottom right. So when we're kind of seeing that almost like peel off, almost like a sticker, we're starting to get, you know, we're definitely out of the light play or higher category, right? So we're really kind of in that like mod play or worse area. So I don't think it's damaged, meaning that I don't think it's going to get like a PSA 3, 2, or 1. So right now for me, it's within that 5 or 4 range. And so I would say based off of what I'm seeing, with the amount of peeling around the card, in addition, I would also argue that there are probably things, and this is more of just like a gut feeling more than anything that I can actually prove based off of the pictures that we're seeing. My guess is that there's probably more scratches and probably some other issues that we can't see at different angles. So I would probably say, with the fact that these edges are peeling, and I'm kind of basing that off of what I'm seeing on the top here, the bottom, both on the front towards that bottom part and the back. We're starting to kind of lean, in my opinion, probably towards that like 4 area, if I were to kind of play it safer. So that would probably be my guess, to be honest. But you know, 5 to 4, I think that's more than fair within that range. But I think just because of the amount of peeling, we're starting to get into that heavy play. Like I really wouldn't consider personally, like if a card is starting to peel I don't really consider that moderately play. I'm kind of thinking more of like heavy play kind of range. So that's kind of where I'd go. So chat, you guys are thinking 5 and I'm thinking 4. So not too far off, all things considered. Let's see. Yeah, is this even a Gengar? Is it a Ditto? Right. Yeah, no worries, Chicken. Thank you so much for submitting, man. I really appreciate it. If I send pictures in the greater view area, would you grade them live? Yes, I would. That's what I'm doing right now. So anyone that submits, I mean, the queue is closed for the night. But definitely if you want your cards assessed sooner rather than later, I highly recommend submitting your cards as soon as you can. Because all I do is I look through the grade review and all those check marks that I do of like helping me keep track of what I reviewed. That's how I do it. I start from the top and scroll my way down. So if you're next, that's how I do it. If you're ever wondering how far along I am in the process. And so again, as a reminder, I think someone asked, and I think I told them I would do it after the Gengar, so I'll review that real quick. So if you guys are new here and want to know how to submit your cards for a future grade review, which again, I stream every Wednesday, starting at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern. This is episode 46, so I've done this 46 other times, or 45 other times. So if you go into my bio, you'll get my Linktree link. So once you click that, just click or tap the Discord icon on the top, where my mouse is currently highlighting. From there, you'll go through the Discord process and you'll get redirected to the grade review channel. And then all you have to do is real short, just submit your cards in the grade review channel. You can submit as many as you want, absolutely for free, but it is first come, first serve, and I review 5 cards per person per stream. And so if you want your cards assessed faster, meaning, because some people have had to wait, 2 or 3 weeks. So if you want your cards assessed faster because you're trying to make a deal or want to get your cards graded through PSA, but want the second opinion sooner rather than later, the server does offer a subscription starting at $4.99 a month, which gives you not only priority grade review, but also helps me out support the stream and provide better tools, things like magnifiers, which kind of enhances the stream, better quality of streams to kind of help us look at these more in depth at higher resolution. So all that stuff kind of gets reinvested back into the stream anyway. But that's how you do it. It's a grown-up Ditto, right? All right, so next up we have Unicorn Prism. So it's funny, we hit the Charmander, the Charmeleon, and now we're hitting the Charizard EX, all from 151. So we got some goodies here. So let's take a look. So the Charizard EX. So thank you for that, Chicken. And now we are reviewing Unicorn Prisms cards. So let's take a look. So the Charizard EX. Again, another card in the modern sets that are starting to slowly rise up a little bit. So let's take a look. The centering of this card looks pretty good. Nothing notable that I can see based off of the texturing. So everything looks good there on the back, or on the front rather. So let's look at the back, and unfortunately I do not think that this would get the 10. And you know what, I'm gonna quiz you guys. If you guys have been here since the start of the stream, I'm gonna ask you, why do you guys think I don't think this card would get a 10? I'm gonna see if you guys have been paying attention, or maybe I'm just being a lazy streamer and you guys can do the work for me. Yes, yep, you guys are pretty much seeing what I'm seeing, is the corners. Yep, exactly. So we got at least one on the top right, we got one on the bottom left, and we got another on the bottom right. So unfortunately, because of that, and this is a really good example, because I get asked this question a lot when people ask me, how much does whitening affect the grade? This Charizard EX is a perfect example on how much whitening can make or break a 10 that is, again, this most likely, I would assume, or I'm hoping, that it was pack fresh, right? So had no issues, right? Like you had nothing to do with how that card came out, but just because it had 1, 2, 3 points of whitening would ultimately mean that this card will most likely not get the 10, but it would still probably get the 9. Yes. I totally agree, Logan. But I'd say for Modern specifically, the only reason why I kind of harp so much on kind of make or breaking the 10s is because for Modern, when you grade Modern, people are really kind of looking for 10s right out of the gate. So when a 9 or lower happens, or like 9 to 7, right, you're might as well just paying for near mint price at that point. So yeah, that's what I assume, Unique, you know, unless people like throw them down a flight of stairs. But are you allowed any minor whitening? I would say, you know, before I would say no, but doing this so many times and having people kind of come back, there is a possibility, like kind of like what I've been starting to say a little bit more, with like maybe if it was like one little bit of whitening, you might have a chance at getting the PSA 10 still, but you're kind of distancing yourself away from like almost like that guaranteed 10, if that makes sense. But there really is no fix for it though, Ghost, unfortunately, because if you were to try to fix the whitening, unless it's like something that's stuck onto the card, like the card stock that I was kind of talking about, like if you can't wipe it away with like a microfiber cloth, you can't get rid of it. The only way that you can get rid of it, quote unquote, is filling it in, but that's considered an alteration, and you're kind of running the risk of having that card not get graded because it's considered an alteration. Anytime, Alex. GameStop actually has a PSA process. Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, exactly what Giant said, Kevin. All right, so next up we have the Charizard EX in Japanese. So let's take a look. The centering looks good. Corners look good. Let's flip it over. Let's see. Let me zoom in just a tad so you guys can see what I'm looking at here. So yeah. This one looks a lot better than the other one, man. Corners look good. And so another thing that I kind of want to kind of address here, because sometimes some people have a little bit difficulty kind of determining, because you kind of see like for Japanese, it almost kind of blends here, right? Almost like in this section, kind of like goes from full like 100% non-transparent to a little bit to like 80, right? So ideally where we're kind of looking, if we're to kind of like put a marker on it, is normally we're kind of looking like on the left side here, kind of from there and here and right about there and right about here. It's kind of hard for me to kind of articulate like where exactly I'm seeing it, but that's kind of where you're looking when it kind of starts blending in like that. So the centering from that perspective looks really good, and we're not seeing any whitening on those corners. So I would say that this probably would be a good 10 contender in my opinion. John, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. PSA. I would say I would start honestly by they have a let's see, have you seen my boy? Thanks so much for the follow. Yeah, honestly that's another solution that people have been really gravitating towards, Ghost. Depending on how many cards you have, GameStop honestly is probably a good alternative, to be honest. It's growing on me more and more, to be honest. The Discord link isn't working. It should be. Had a few people join today. Maybe if you copy it, maybe you try to do it on desktop, possibly. How off center can the front be for PSA 10? So Glenn, technically it's 60-40 ratio. But I tend to be more on the conservative side when it comes to the front centering. I tend to kind of stick with 55-45, to be honest. Oh, gotcha, Ghost. So I would say the best way to do it, man, it would just be to go to PSA's website. And they actually have a really good step-by-step guide on how to submit your cards, to be honest. That's a good point too, Angel. That is definitely a good point. But yeah, I would say if you I would say join the Discord. If you want to ask there too, I can give you the direct link if you can't find it. Do you think buying the new Umbreon pre-release is a good idea? I think that in my opinion, like what I'm gonna do is I'm definitely gonna wait, because the market is so volatile right now with like, and it hasn't even released, you know what I mean? So it's kind of, I don't know. That's my opinion, is that it's very volatile, and for new sets I always like to wait at least a month to wait. I think as like a consumer, I always decide to like have like the 2-week rule, right? Like wait 2 weeks after a set's released to kind of see what happens. But I think kind of the pre-release, I think a lot of people are hyping it up and trying to almost have like an artificial FOMO, because a lot of people are comparing it to the Moonbreon. So that's kind of my assumption. Thoughts on the Pika? Kind of the same thing. I think there's a lot of hype behind it, but I also think that the hype also is probably coming from kind of the sudden surge of Pokemon Pocket, in my opinion too. So a lot of people are kind of like very similar to what happened with Pokemon Go and Evolutions, kind of the same thing, and just Surging Spark just happened to be like out at the time, and it's Pikachu. So there's kind of like, you have the people kind of getting back into it a little bit more, the nostalgia, people recognize Pikachu, right? It's big, it's a cool card, so there's a little bit of that to it too, in my opinion. But it might go down, but again, it might not, because it just so happened to be paired with Pokemon Pocket. I may have missed it, but did you ever get to my Burning Shadows Charizard? I may have. I'm not too sure. Honestly, I've like, not tonight, unless I tagged you, but do I know what language the card is the cheapest? I honestly don't. I have no idea. Do you think the Moonbreon will drop again? I think probably not. That set was such an anomaly because it happened right during COVID. So there's a lot of like manufacturing issues. There was also those allegations of people kind of taking the full arts, right? You saw that from Fusion Strike, Evolving Skies, and whatnot. There's a lot of issues like that. The card has been hyped and retains its hype for literally years at this point. So probably not anytime soon, to be honest. But again, it's a total anomaly. And it's like the stars were like in perfect alignment for that set, for that card. So that's why like a lot of people are kind of comparing Prismatic Evolutions to Evolving Skies. But the other thing to kind of keep in mind is that there's not that heavy restriction like COVID had in terms of manufacturing. Yes, I am, Ron. But currently I'm yapping and answering questions, but it's okay. I like answering your guys' questions. That's what I like to do these streams for. So anytime I can kind of provide my insight, that's what I like to do. How do you properly check centering? I would say the best way to check centering, and I'll actually go through. So I'm just going to pause reading chat real quick to kind of continue on with this Charizard here. Kind of answering Blake's question for centering. So really what we're doing for centering is we're just going to take a look at this yellow border here, so the right side compared to the left. So when we're measuring this, we want this to be as close to 50-50 as possible. So 50-50 means it's perfectly centered, right? Meaning if it was a 1/2 inch on the left, it should be a 1/2 inch on the right, meaning it's, you know, add 1/2 and 1/2, it's the full inch, so it's split down 50-50. So that's basically what, when I keep talking about like ratio and centering, that's what I'm meaning. So in this example, the right side is actually a little bit thicker than the left. So this, based off of our observation from this picture. So the other thing that I'm noticing too is we do have a little bit of a ding there on the top. And so as we kind of go across, so one thing that I think this is probably the first time I'm mentioning it tonight is, so if you guys have seen my content before, one thing I do is I also do cleanings with the, I can't emphasize this enough. I clean things that are, excuse me, added onto the card. I don't actually add anything to the card. So what do I mean by that? So what I mean by that is I take, you know, something as simple as distilled water and a Q-tip, and I'll just try to like slowly, methodically try to remove some of this dirt and grime that's been added to the card. I'm not actually using things like card wax or chemicals or anything like that to add anything to the card to potentially improve the look of the card. So anytime I see this kind of like black gunk, that tells me that that's possibly dirt, in which case it could just be simply removed with a little bit of elbow grease and some distilled water and a Q-tip. So that's kind of my general goal. So let's see. Turkish, thank you so much for the membership, man, over on Discord. Thank you so much. Join the general tier. Thank you so much, man. If you're in here on TikTok, I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for the support. So as we kind of look here on the left, we do have a little bit of a ding there on the bottom left corner. So we have to consider that as well. Hopefully we'll review that soon, Drewski. Because right now, the big things is that the edges are a little bit rough. We have a little bit of some wear and tear above the F and of. So we are starting to see some of that kind of like top layer get removed and start seeing that like hollow layer underneath. So we have one near the Pokemon here in the flame Pokemon section, have some near like the length and the weight. And obviously we have a lot of scratches on the hollow. So let's flip that over. And on the back, yeah, it's in pretty rough shape. But like what Unique is saying, so this is Unique submission that's watching on TikTok right now. How does the sub thing work with you grading them right away? So the subscription works by, so like if you're a subscriber on Discord and you submit your cards in your subscriber, so like if you subscribe to the cadet tier, you submit your cards in the cadet grade review channel. And so what I do is every Wednesday, I first go through all the subs and then I go through all the non-subs. So you get priority that way, if that makes sense, Napo. But yeah, so Unique, who this is their card, you know, this is from their childhood, right? So obviously, like very similar to what I was going through my childhood collection on Monday, there's a lot of love to these cards, right? So we're not really, you know, looking at PSA 10s necessarily, because we see all these corners have some pretty significant issues. Very loved, right? We also see, I kind of somewhat coined the phrase, kind of like these soft corners, right? Meaning that they've been so like loved on that it starts to get a little bit softer on the bottom there. And on the right side, we have a lot of that whitening as well. In addition, you know, some surface scratches, all that fun stuff. So it looks like we still have enough people in the stream, both on YouTube and TikTok. So I'm going to actually open it up to you guys as well. So I'm going to open up the chat grade now. So if you want to vote on what you think this Charizard from base set would get as a PSA grade, type ! grade followed by the number on what you think this Charizard would get as a PSA grade. Again, that's ! grade followed by the number if you want to vote on what you think this Charizard would get. So here is the front of the Zard. Again, more of like kind of some corner issues, some edge issues, some scratching. And on the back, we have a lot of those softer corners as well. So again, ! grade followed by the number if you want your vote to count. And while you guys are doing that, I'm going to catch up with chat. Oh, it would probably get a 5 or a 6. Got to unbox them all. Yeah, possibly. So if I were to do that now, would you grade them after this review, but just next Wednesday? Yeah, so once the queue is closed, I then review for next week. So yeah, so if you subscribed on the channel, you would most likely, because there hasn't been a lot of people in the subscription tier, you'd be reviewed next week. If you were to submit now, or if you were to subscribe to either 3 of the tiers and submit your cards tonight, you for sure would be reviewed next week. Sleepy, thanks so much for the follow. And we just hit over 6K in likes over on TikTok. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight. Really does mean a lot. All right, so we got some memers in here, some 10s. Definitely not TJ. Definitely not. Angel, thanks so much for liking the live. Appreciate you. All right, let me wrap up the vote here. So I would say almost unanimous, to be honest. You guys are thinking a PSA 4 as the chat grade. So you guys are thinking a PSA 4. So chat, PSA 4. So now, let me move this over here so I can remember what you guys said, because I have the brain of a goldfish. So now it is my turn. So what do I think this Charizard from base set, very loved, would get? So right off the bat, again, we have a lot of kind of this like black gunk that can most likely get removed. So in this instance, under that assumption that you can remove that, I'm not going to dock any surface issues there. So on the top, we have a little bit of some issues there on the top edges, the corners and the sides here, just kind of like overall just general wear and tear for the most part. You know, we have a lot of scratches on the hollow here by the flame, but just all around the card. Additionally, we're also having so many scratches that it's actually starting to take away from the top layer in the text area. So we have some near the energy, some in kind of the stats here. So by the Pokemon, the length, a lot of scratches there. So right off the bat, we're obviously out of near mint territory and possibly even out of light play territory. So we're kind of looking at a PSA 5 or below, but obviously we have to flip it over to give a full assessment. So as we look in the back, we see a lot of whitening on all four corners and all four edges. Again, very, very common for cards that were, you know, part of our childhood collection. We didn't understand what sleeves were back in the day. We didn't understand any of that. So this is a testament to this card being, you know, enjoyed by a child at the end of the day. So all four corners, all four edges are good. Legitimately, I think that the biggest thing saving you, I think, from getting a PSA 3 or lower is the fact that I don't see from these pictures, I don't see any bends or creases. The only thing that I really see is just scratches and dings, and that's really it, to be honest. So I would say because of that, I also agree with Chad on this one, that I think that you'd probably have a good shot at getting a 4 for this one, to be honest, because again, you're not having any of those bends, you're not having any of those creases that we can probably see based off the pictures you provided. So yeah, I think that's a pretty fair assessment, chat. So chat, you guys gave it a 4 and I also gave it a 4 as well. So let's see. Yeah, I think unique to the fact that you didn't have any bends or creases, I think that's really what kind of saved it. So I'm just going to catch up with chat real quick. So if I got microfiber cloth, how much pressure should I put on the card? That's really hard for me to kind of articulate, Angel, to be completely honest with you. I would say, you know, definitely have, you know, some test subjects, you know, have some cards that you don't really care if you did like put almost like your whole nail through it. You know what I mean? Definitely don't try it on cards that you care about. That way you can kind of gauge a little bit better on how much pressure you can put. Because it's really just a feel thing, to be honest. It's really kind of, I don't mean to cop out, but that's really kind of the goal. But grades are, yeah, exactly. All right, so I always like to kind of have this as a pop quiz. So for those of you who are have been here, you'll probably know exactly what I'm about to ask. Does anyone know what error you should be looking for when you see a base set Blastoise? Does anyone know the error that you should be looking for? It will make your Blastoise much more valuable and much more desired upon certain niche collectors. I know Giant's gonna say he always comes up with the right answer. But does anyone know what error you should be looking for? We got Shadow. Nope, it's not the Shadowless. One person's already said it. I know there's so many errors, Keith. It's insane. So the big thing that we're looking for, chat, is you want to look at the stage. So there are certain Blastoise from base set that is called the stage error. So it will basically just say put Blastoise on the card. The stage will be missing. So that is a highly valuable error for the Blastoise specifically. And so some of you guys were wondering about the evolution. So that's on the Wartortle. So the Wartortle will actually, some of the errors will have the Wartortle in the stage 1 instead of the Squirtle. It'll actually have the Wartortle. But yep, always look in that top right to see if the stage is present or not. If it's missing and it's, you know, priced as though it's just a regular Blastoise, definitely pick it up. Definitely pick it up. I listen. There you go. Yumi, thanks so much for the follow. And Zombie Emoji, thanks so much for the follow. Appreciate you. All right, so let us review the Blastoise. Again, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me tonight. I appreciate all the likes, shares, and follows. We're almost at 8K likes. Wow, thank you guys so much. Is that unique to the Blastoise? For that specific era, Sleepy? Yes. Yep. To my knowledge, there are no other cards that are missing the stage, I believe, besides the Blastoise. So let's take a look. So centering looks good. The edges, again, we have a little bit of dirt there. What I was talking about with that little bit of distilled water and a Q-tip, gonna remove some of that dirt. Corners actually look pretty decent. Besides the bottom left. The bottom left has a little bit of a ding there. But definitely better than the Charizard, that's for sure, based off what we're seeing. Additionally, we're not really seeing a lot of issues on the text on the bottom, but we maybe see a little bit of something there by the plus sign of the 40. Additionally, possibly see something by the number 1 and a card to one of your water Pokemon. Probably a little bit of something there. And then just generic, just scratches. Again, we didn't know what sleeves were back in the day. We had no idea. So this is all kind of standard scratching stuff, basically standard childhood card. So as we flip it over on the back, we're basically seeing almost the exact same thing that we saw on the Charizard. So those really kind of softened corners on the bottom here, right? So that bottom left, kind of bottom right, we have a little bit of that, kind of those little fuzzy corners. The top left and the top right also have the same thing, and just basically whitening all around the card for the most part. So yeah. Let's see. Keep mixing. Thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. So yeah, it's really just kind of the same thing as the Charizard for the most part. But let's see what you guys think. So I'm going to open it up the poll again. So if you guys want to vote on what you think this Blastoise from base set would get as a PSA grade, just type in ! grade followed by the number. Again, that's ! grade followed by the number on what you think this Blastoise from base set would get as a PSA grade. Here is the front, and then there is the back. And while you guys are voting, I'm going to catch up with chat. This card looks like an alligator skin. Interesting. Very interesting. Again, just to make sure, if you guys want to have your vote count, again, it's ! grade followed by the number. It can't be just the number. And there's the front of it too. And if anyone needs me to flip it over, be more than happy to do so. I'll let this open for about 30 seconds or so before I close it. This Pokemon TCG Pocket? I wish. Hopefully you guys had anyone that plays Pocket. Hopefully you got your 5 wins in a row badge. That was probably the most stressful event to date. Daniel, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. So if you are a subscriber, you'll most likely have to just wait until next week because there's not a lot of people that have submitted in those tiers. But if you're a non-subscriber, it'd probably be even longer than that because it's a first come first serve because it is a free service that I offer. So it is going to be a little bit. But if you want your cards graded at a priority, the Discord server does offer a subscription starting at $4.99. That gives you that and some other cool perks too. So what makes a card an automatic 0? Basically, the good rule of thumb, JJ, is if the card is essentially no longer looking like a card. Essentially. Meaning like the structural integrity is no longer present. That's when they kind of say, nah, we're not going to grade this. Christina, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. All right, let me close poll real quick. And you guys are pretty much thinking it wasn't as close as the Charizard, but it was the same response nonetheless. So you guys are pretty much safe from last time. So you guys are thinking a 4. So let me just save that. So let me give my assessment. So what do I think this Blastoise from base set would get. So all in all, a little bit better condition than the Charizard, but let's see if that actually warrants a higher grade. So the edges on the top look, you know, pretty beat. A little bit of dirt there, and then we'll probably see that a few times here. That can probably just be cleaned. A little bit of a corner ding on the bottom left, and then just, you know, general wear and tear scratches on the Blastoise. Nothing common, nothing uncommon. So right off the bat, we're, you know, at the best case scenario, we're at light play or 6, but obviously we have to flip it over. And then this is where it really starts to kind of go downhill. So with the significant whitening on all 4 corners and all 4 edges, right, we're basically kind of like where my brain goes is, okay, is it mod play, heavy play, damage? I've definitely seen cards worse condition, so I don't think it's damaged. So we're really kind of in that heavy play, mod play range. And the same thing that I said about the Charizard is honestly kind of present here as well. Meaning that there really is no bends or creases or anything like that that would kind of take that into that kind of that 3 territory, to be honest. But I also think that this is a little bit worse than mod play, in my opinion, just because of how fuzzy and worn these corners are actually getting. So I'd probably say because of the issues on the front, although not as bad, I would probably still lean because of the, like, kind of these all the whitening around all edges and starting to get softened. I would probably lean away from the mod play and kind of getting into the heavy play, which would kind of translate for me as a PSA 4 as well. So I'd probably say for this card, again, I'm basically just copying you guys at this point, is that I also think that this card probably would get a 4 because of how soft those corners are. But the fact that we don't see any, you know, major creases or bends or anything like that kind of prevents it from going down any lower, would be my opinion. So next up, I think we have a second Blastoise. We do. So this one is confirmed to be different, chat. So this is a different Blastoise, unfortunately not the stage 1 error, but let's take a look. Let's do this. Perfect. So the corners actually are looking a little bit better on this one. Corners are looking better. There's a little bit possibly on that bottom, but not too bad. The text looks good, you know, pretty much all in all, same thing. The whitening is actually way better on this one than the other Blastoise, which is huge. I mean, obviously it's there, but it's not nearly as bad on that left edge or the right edge, or even the bottom and the top. Like, obviously it's there, but it's not as bad as the other Blastoise, to be honest. So yeah, I would say, honestly, just based off of kind of like the last 2 grades that we just did with the Charizard and the Blastoise both being 4s, I think this would be more of a good example on a card more going into like that moderately played section, right? Because we, you know, there obviously is some whitening still, but not nearly as bad as what we saw for the Charizard or the Blastoise, in my opinion. So I think with this card, to kind of move things along here, I would probably give this one a 5. It's definitely not light. It's a little bit worse than light play, obviously. So I think this is a really strong mod play category, or a strong PSA 5, would be kind of my opinion on that. And you also have a little bit of off centering on the bottom there too. But yeah, I think this would be a pretty strong mod play or PSA 5. The only other thing that I can probably think of, if I really had to kind of critique it, but I don't know if it's just because of the camera kind of giving like these weird like artifacting issues, is maybe there's some like residue or something like that stuck in this section. But again, I can't really confirm because it does have like this like rainbow camera artifacting. So I really can't kind of weigh that in because of that, because I really don't know whether or not that's camera artifacting or not. So yeah, so that was that was unicorns. So thank you again, Unicorn, for submitting those cards. Hopefully that at least points you in the right direction on whether or not you want to grade your childhood collection or not, depending on what you're really kind of looking for. If you're looking just to kind of, preserve your childhood collection. Obviously, grading is a really good solution to really kind of encapsulate that and make sure that it doesn't get damaged. So thank you nonetheless. I have more base set hauls, so I'll definitely send in. Awesome. I'm looking forward to it, Unique. Alex, how do I send pictures for you to review? Yeah, because I'm sure you're not the only one wondering. So if you guys want your cards reviewed for free in a future grade review, all you have to do is go into my bio. From there, you'll see my Linktree link. Next, all you have to do is click or tap the Discord icon that is on top. From there, you'll get redirected to the Discord, and you'll be then sent to the grade review channel. And then all you have to do is just follow the rules of the channel, which are in the pinned messages. You can submit as many cards as you want, completely for free, but that is first come, first serve, and it is limited to 5 cards per person per stream. However, if you want your cards assessed faster, the Discord server does offer a subscription starting at $4.99 a month, which gives you priority grade review every week, because I stream every Wednesday grade review. This is episode 46, actually. I do this every Wednesday starting at 7 o'clock p.m. And so if you're a subscriber, it'll give you priority once a week, or each week. Not once a week, it'll give you priority each week. So yeah, that's how you do it. Would you say that any base set holo above a 4 would be worth sending in? I guess it really just depends, man. Like if you're trying to look for like a return on your investment, I typically don't submit any vintage cards unless it would be, I would think it would go an 8 or above, in my honest opinion. Unless, I mean, there's obviously some exceptions, like if it's like a first edition Shadowless Blastoise or first ed Shadowless Charizard or whatever. I think those are exceptions that I think they should, just because of how sought after and valuable those cards are on their own right, regardless on condition. I think it's worth sending in. Oh, that's awesome, Alex. If someone sends more than 5 in a message, would you do the amount left for that stream? Yeah, so basically, Angel, how it'd work is if someone submitted 10 cards, and they were up next in the queue as an example, I would review, out of that batch of 10, I would review the first 5 in that order that they were submitted. And then I would kind of bookmark it on myself to then the next week I would review the remaining 5. So that's kind of how I do that. Yeah, I mean, it's not really up to, at that point, Unique, it's really up to you, to be honest. Alex and Brando and Professor, thank you guys so much for the follow. I appreciate that very much. And for anyone else that's been followed or shared or liked, if I haven't thanked you, I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me tonight and just looking at some cool cards. Like now we have a submission from Puff Daddy 615. Bad timing, my friend. Well, let's take a look. And TJ, thanks so much for the follow. Appreciate you. All right. So now let's take a look at the 25th anniversary Charizard. So let's take a look. Centering looks good. Corners look good. And overall, based on what I'm seeing from this picture, the surface looks good. So let's flip it over. Let's see. Let me actually zoom in just a tad so you guys can see a little bit better on stream. So the top right looks good, top left looks good. Yeah, all corners look really good. The only thing that I don't know is that the right side looks a little bit thicker than the left. So kind of where I'm to kind of visually think out loud here. So where I'm seeing is right about here. Nope. We need to put you over here. There we go. So I'm looking more like in this section for the centering, and then here on that left side. So it appears a little bit that it might be off center on that right side, but I can't really guarantee that. So I definitely measure that in person. But if that is well centered, because we do have a little bit of a shadow here on that left, so it might be making it a little bit hard for me to kind of to differentiate one way or the other. I would say overall this card is in pretty good shape. I would probably submit it. But again, with that exception of if that is in fact off center from that right side to the left, I probably wouldn't, maybe, because I really don't know how much. Again, I don't know what kind of like the return on investment would be for you for this card. So just kind of keep that in mind. Hey Phoenix, how's it going, man? Hope all is well since the last time I saw you pop in chat. Hopefully everything is good, my dude. So yeah, that'd be the only thing I would check on that for that card specifically. Let's see. So Puff, and next up we have a nice little pool here from My Money Up. So let's take a look. So we got that one. Make sure that this is cleared. Boom. So many shows. Oh, nice. Have you been going to some trade shows recently? All right, so let's look at how much is that card worth? Oh, excuse me. I'm not too sure. I don't know, like, so when I do these reviews, I really don't know how much these cards are per se. But I'd say, you know, in most cases, just look up what they would be based on your assessed raw condition, either on TCG Player. And if you're looking for like PSA pricing, you can either kind of go through the same process I'm about to show you now and like kind of self-assess what you think the card would get as a PSA grade, and then just look up comps for that. So depending on if you're asking from like a graded or ungraded. Well, that's awesome, Phoenix. Hopefully you've been getting some pretty good pickups. I love trade shows, man. They're so much fun. Okay. So now we are looking at the centering of this Mega Charizard EX. So let's take a look. Centering is actually really good. So this one is, I think, is still worth noting, like where exactly I'm looking for the centering, because this card obviously has the wings kind of going across the edge, so it's a little bit harder to kind of see where that centering is. So how I kind of do it is I just first kind of look at a section where it does have, in this case, like that full gold. So I start right here and to the left, and hopefully you guys can see that right in that section, and then right here going over. And then obviously the top has a really nice section, so you can go to the top there, and as well as the bottom. So from first glance, looking at those four sides, looks really good and really well centered. Cryptic, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. And the only thing that I see on this card that probably could get treated, but again, I don't know, is I don't know what that is in particular. So that little white, like kind of highlighted section, I don't know if that's on the card, if that's part of kind of the texturing. I'm not too sure. So I would probably check that to see if possible to remove that. In addition to some whitening here kind of by the belly, as well as the top of the wing here. So I'd probably say, just to kind of keep it safe, I'd probably say just kind of take a quick microfiber cloth across just to kind of get rid of some of these little white particles, because again, you don't want PSA docking you any points based off of your surface subgrade. So definitely kind of do that real quick, because that's ultimately what I think most of this is. It's just like these little specks that can probably just be wiped off of the card. So on here, the top corner looks good. We do see what appears to be some whitening on that top edge. So if that's true, then we're kind of already getting out of that PSA 10 contender. And again, we have a lot of like these little white specks that can probably just be wiped off. Additionally, we see some there on that top left side as well. So as we kind of go along the bottom here, see maybe what appear, this might be lighting more than anything, because you see the shadow coming from your fingers going over to the right. We're not assessing fingers, we're assessing cards today. Do see a little bit of whitening there. So I'd say, you know, as we kind of look over, I really am curious. I didn't really see anything on the front here, so it doesn't really look like it's all that bad on that top part. But I do think because of what appears to be the whitening on that right side, and more importantly on that top part, I don't think that it would get, because that's pretty noticeable. So that's one of the things that I tend to kind of highlight is as like almost like a kind of a hidden fifth category, which is eye appeal. So the fact that we kind of see this very predominantly on the top is kind of taking us away from obviously the 10, but even starting to take away from that 9. So in addition to this like very notable whitening on the top and on this edge, you're probably looking more at an 8 for this Charizard. I definitely think it's, you know, it's in pretty good shape. I don't think that there's enough whitening for it to be like, I think if there was more, it would probably be a 7, but I think you're more looking like an 8 because it is well centered. It's just really like a lot of the fuzzy stuff on the front of the card can be again removed with a microfiber cloth, but I probably think because of that notable whitening on the top and a little bit on that right side, you're probably looking at an 8 for this Mega Charizard in my opinion. Hey Betty, how's it going? Hopefully you had a good nap. Anytime you pop in and say hello, I always assume that you're just coming up from a nap. So welcome. How do I know? Who knows at this point? I think you've been around long enough for me to start picking it up. All right, so next up we have the Eevee and Snorlax tag team. Always a big fan of the tag teams. So let's take a look. So the centering on this bad boy looks a little bit thicker on the left than it does the right. But all in all, looks pretty good. I'm not seeing any print lines or major scratches or anything like that on the front. Maybe a little bit of a dust particle there in the bottom left-hand corner, possibly, but not too sure. But all in all, it's really just the centering. Yeah, I'd be right there with you, Betty, for sure. I'd be doing the same thing. So the only thing on the back, so again, this kind of confirms this being off center on the left side, because when we flip it over, it would then translate more on the back to the right, and we do see that. So we do have a little bit of a thicker edge on the right side versus the left. Additionally, we do have some mild surface abrasions here, both on the top, more like the top right of the card, as well as some of these illuminated scratches here. So we have like one that I'm kind of like soft tracing with the mouse, as well as this one as well. But aside from that, I'm not seeing a whole lot of whitening that cannot be removed, meaning like this little particle and these little ones on like kind of like in this section within this zoomed in circle can most likely get removed with just a wipe of the microfiber cloth. Lost, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. And Alex, I don't know if I said thank you, but thank you. But all in all, I don't know if it's just the lighting making it look worse than it already is, but the front looks really good. It really just looks like mildly off center is really what's going to kind of take this away from you. So I would probably measure. So my big thing would be I would measure this right side compared to the left. This is where it's kind of honestly more noticeable in terms of the centering. So if this is outside that 70-30, you know, you're obviously, I don't think we're even in the 10 range to begin with, just because of that scratch there, and some of the off centering both on the front and on the back. So I'd probably say, you know, probably a 9 to 8, depending on how bad the centering actually measures on this right side on the back. So that's really kind of, I'm going to leave a little bit of wiggle room because I don't know what that data actually looks like in terms of the centering. But I'd probably lean more towards, if I had to pick, more towards an 8 than a 9, more so with the centering being the main factor, and these little bit of what I'm seeing, what appears to be from the image, what appears to be some surface abrasions here on that top right side, as well as those two scratches, or what almost like appears to look like print lines, to be honest. So kind of take that with like a little bit of grain of salt, but that'd be kind of my loose assumption. And so next we have the Slowpoke and Psyduck. One of my personal favorite tag teams, to be honest, is the Slowpoke Psyduck. Both sharing the same eyes. The centering on this one is actually really good from what I can tell. Because one thing I will note, and I've said this a few times, but I haven't said it tonight, is, and this is kind of a good rule of thumb on tracking and keeping track of like what you think a card would get and what it comes back as. Because I thought for a longest time that this black border, this like kind of black section in the center of the border, like if, for example, like see how close this black midsection is to the image. I don't believe, based off of the submissions that I've had returned, like if that's off center, like if it's not lined up perfectly with the left or the right, that's not considered in the centering. It's that silver edge in total that's actually measured. Because I've had some that were coming back as 10s that this black line was severely off and like wonky, but it still came back as 10s. So that's kind of where I'm kind of coming from when I kind of make that statement. So yeah, so I think the left and the right look really good, and kind of like talking about it a little bit more, maybe the bottom is a little bit thicker than the top. So measure that for sure. But all in all, the front looks really good. And then the back, same thing, man. I think the back is really good. I think that might just be like an issue with your camera. Normally I've seen that sometimes with like a pixel. When you take a picture and the pixel in your camera makes it a little bit wonky. So that's probably what that is, most likely. And then again, all these little white specks, I'm assuming can probably be removed. Alexis, thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate that. But no whitening really. Again, a lot of this stuff can probably just be removed. So I'd probably say for this one, you probably have a good chance, to be honest, with the exception of, you know, just measure this bottom part to the top and make sure it's within that kind of like 60-40 technically, or 50, like 60-40 to 50-50. Just make sure that that's kind of within that range. But all in all, if you can kind of remove those little white specks on the top and the bottom edge there, based off what I'm seeing, you have a pretty good contender, for sure. And then the one thing that you said for this Glaceon specifically is that there is a little bend somewhere. And I don't know, because I don't think well, you're in chat if you want to specify where that bend is, Angel. That helped me out a lot. But, oh, the modern curve. Gotcha. I see. So yeah, it's so not too bad. Nothing that I can't kind of get flattened out, if I'm understanding you correctly. Let's see. But the centering looks really good. Corners look good. And the surface on the front looks really good. And on the back, same thing. Like a lot of those little dust particles, more or less. Corners look great. Edges look good. Again, really kind of the same thing here with that print line going down. So I'd say like what TJ's saying, for that kind of like that little bend or like that little curve of the card, if you just put it in between some heavy books, you know, for a day or two, in most cases, if it's within like a little bit of a humid environment too, if it's too dry, it might just simply rebound. So you might have to kind of keep that in mind if it's not like working as fast as you want it to. But that's an excellent way of doing flattening out your cards, just putting it between a book and a sleeve, of course, because you don't want to damage the card at all. But yeah, I think all in all, I don't think, just because of how predominant we're seeing the scratch, I don't think it would get the 10 because of it. But you're probably looking at a really strong 9 unless they miss this. Unless they miss this scratch, you could probably get the 10, but you're probably looking more towards you probably still have a chance of getting the 10. So if it were me, I'd probably, if you can afford it and if you kind of like don't really care and it flattens out well, I probably would still send it. But just note that they might ding you on this scratch, would be my guess. Yeah, Nate. And then just in case if anyone else is wondering how to submit your cards for a free grade review, all you have to do is just click my link in my bio. From there, you'll be redirected here and you'll just either click or tap the Discord icon as shown on screen. Next, you'll go through a onboarding process, which will send you to the grade review channel. And then from there, you just submit your cards in the grade review channel. You You can spin as many as you want, absolutely for free, but it is a first come, first serve with a limit of 5 cards per person per stream. However, if you want your cards assessed faster, meaning you want priority grade review, the server also offers a subscription starting at $4.99 a month. So in addition to getting higher or faster and priority grade review, you also get some other good perks as well. So yeah. So that is the grade review portion of the stream. So thank you guys for submitting that. And I'm going to queue up the next part and hopefully not blow out your eardrums. So just give me one quick second here. And while I'm doing that, we're just going to go to the just chatting. Hello, if this is your first time seeing me. People over on YouTube have been seeing me all night, including my cat who's walked by a few times. But hello. And we are going to get the next part of the stream started. So just bear with me one second, because we have some dreams to crush, chat. We definitely have some dreams to crush. Because for those of you who are playing the Pokemon TCG Pocket, there is an event that we need to look for. And it is winning 5 games in a row. So luckily, I was able to do such feat. So now we are going to essentially act like a gym trainer and see if people are worthy of earning the badge. So it's been a super fun event. And so let me just make sure that I see you guys. Here we go. Sounds good, Angel. Yeah, if you guys want the faster you submit your cards, the better, for sure. AK likes, that's what I like to hear. And I got to make sure that my chat, because last time I tried doing this, my chat got frozen, so I gotta make sure that doesn't happen this time around. All right, so Pokemon Pocket time. Let's see if this loads. This should. Boom. All right. So we are good to go. What's my favorite card that you own no matter the grade? I would say my favorite card is probably the original birthday Pikachu, to be honest. Because I remember, I guess, like a story time. That was a card I really wanted for a while, but I never had a Toys R Us like near me growing up. And so the few times that I would be able to go to the mall, they would always have tournaments, and that was one of the prize cards. And I thought it was the coolest card because you could like write your actual name in the card, right? Like they encouraged it to write your name in the card. So I thought that was the coolest thing. And I still love that card to this day. It's such a cool card. But yeah, that I would say that was one of my favorite cards, regardless of the grade, for sure. All right, so for those of you who are wondering, this is the event that is going on right now. So we got the 5 wins. So really what it kind of boils down to is we're gonna act like the gym leaders here. We're gonna see if people are worthy of getting the 5 badge. The Fossil Hollow Haunter, man. Yeah, I loved Haunter. Well, I think I loved Haunter because for the longest time I didn't realize like how to evolve it. So what decks are we rocking today? So we got 6. So 2 are more on the meta side. 1 is kind of like more on the anti-meta side. And so I'm thinking I kind of want to rock no coins, all fist. And then what's going to happen is the first game I'm going to have tonight is going to be against a Mewtwo EX. So we're going to see. Oh, so this person has not had the badge yet, so we're now acting as the gym leader to see if they're worthy of the badge. Fisticuffs, man. No coins, all fist. So I'm going second. I feel like my luck's not that good. We're just gonna do that. We'll see what we draw into. Yeah, the Machamp EX is so nice because it's just like, I'm coming at you. You better do something to stop it. It's a very, very aggressive. So we'll see. Pikachu EX. Sounds good, TJ. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, man. Nice to meet you, and I'm sure I'll see you around. Yeah, I've been absolutely loving me some Pocket. All right, let's see. Lupex, what's going on, man? I'm just chilling, trying to keep people away from getting the 5 wins. Okay, so we do have the Machoke, which is great. So we are going to just start drawing. Let's see, because you already had a Professor's Research, so now you use the Pokédex. So I'm gonna basically counter his Pokédex, so he has no idea what the hell he's drawing into now. And he's down a Research, so he's about to get into the realm of hard drawing everything. But he does have, I think he has, no, he hasn't used a Pokeball. Angel, I cannot agree with you more. I had a Marowak deck, and I think I had 6. It was 6 tails in a row, I'm pretty sure. So 6 tails in a row, and I completely gave up on it. I threw that thing like right in the trash. I'm currently using my new 380 Ti to stop my Milotic from warping. That's so funny. All right, so let's see. So the nice thing about Meowth too is that it kind of, you know, does a little bit of prevention of the, what's it called? The red card. Because now we can just kind of regain some of those resources that we lost with the red card. So not a bad deal, all things considered. And so once this Meowth gets KO'd, we're probably just going to switch out the Hitmonlee, because he already used it. I think I drew into the potion, right? Yeah, I drew into the potion. And so regardless, the Machamp is going to hit for 120. So you can recover all you want. So really my main goal right now is once the Meowth gets KO'd, whatever he's about to set in his bench, I basically need the Hitmonlee to chip away at any Zapdos. Because Zapdos is 130, although I do have a Giovanni. A Retreat, interesting. That's very interesting. So we are going to, so basically what's going to happen is if he, so what happens here? So I think to prevent a red card from making me upset, we're going to put the Machamp down. Because ultimately, it really won't matter. Because if I knock out the Meowth, one of the Pikachus are going to have to swap in. So that's perfect. So we'll just, sure. And if you want to keep a Pikachu on your bench, we'll just use a Sabrina if we need to, which looks like what's about to happen. And yeah, I mean, we just do one of these bad boys. Knock out a Pikachu EX. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Lupex. I got a I was so lucky, dude. I got a Misty full art from a Wonder Trade last night. I was so pumped. I couldn't have flooded that man with more thanks if I wanted to. Yes, from here, I'm not too sure what else he can do. And there's the GG's. Because his energy distribution was all over the place. Was absolutely all over the place. No coins, all fist, baby. Rocking it up. Need the Zard? Well, good luck, my friend. Definitely good luck. How can we battle? I was actually thinking about that. Maybe I'll have like a Discord or something. Should I have a PvP battle or a PvP channel in the Discord, Vic? Ooh, so we got... There you go. All you have to do is just like convince them to trade with you when trades are open. I don't know if you guys have... Oh yeah, of course, Vic. For sure. It'd be kind of fun too to do like some fun like no EX, like kind of like competitions. I think it'd be kind of cool. So this guy is just playing nothing but just stall. So what are we really afraid of? So it'd be kind of nice to actually start picking at some of the weaknesses, because I basically put both of them in 2-hit KO range. So we're actually going to do that. So we're going to do a Sabrina. That's why I like having 2 Sabrinas, to be honest. It really puts you off tempo for energy. So now I'm going to put one of them, you know, because unless they want to burn a potion or whatever. So now, you know, Jigglypuff either has to retreat or has to stay in and get the sleep, but waste an energy on a coin flip, if that makes sense. Yeah, so now they're burning an X speed. Yeah, I think a no EX, I think that would be fun. I think I'll have to look into that for sure. So what I'd like... So the only thing is that's kind of not doing us any favors is that we're currently not having anything to draw into the Machoke and the Machamp, which is not good. So I think we could do essentially the same thing, because I don't know if he has the Frost Moth in hand, and that'd be kind of really annoying. Because we just need to kind of set them off tempo, because I don't want to get Kogood. He has very little cards in hand. So we're just going to hit him with a Sabrina again. Again, chip away, take advantage of that weakness, and see what we can do here. So the Machop in the lead is pretty much GG. We want to kind of load up the one in the back as much as we can. And this Machop's sole purpose is just chip damage. Just chip, chip, chip. That's all we're doing. So he's either going to have a Weezing, which is only going to do 40 or 50. So I'm out of Giovanni range unless he Sabrina's. But then again, I just kind of put in, most likely I put the Hitmonchan in. So there's the Frost Moth. So there's that. So now, the nice thing about the Frost Moth is that if I hopefully draw into a Machop or a Machoke, which I'm not. Okay, so now that we don't know that we have the Machoke, we have to wait a little bit. So the Hitmonchan is going to go out, and we are just going to just start punching. And the other thing that we could possibly do too, depending on who comes out or who I draw into, So the Wigglytuff is starting to feed a little bit. All right, so I failed to sleep. So now we're just kind of loading up the Machop here. So we do... So let's see. Actually, this might actually be an interesting play. Because if I hit the Machoke... So what happens? Because if I hit the Machoke, the Machop wakes up, I hit for 50. But then I'm only getting 1. And then I'm basically making the Machamp weaker to the Wigglytuff, because I need to save it for the Wigglytuff. So I'm going to Machoke here. And if I get a Machoke off the research, that's even better, I guess. So right now, yeah, so we're basically just kind of chilling. I don't need to have... I'm not going to waste any potions because I really don't know how much that Wigglytuff is going to stall me out. Because we're basically just kind of looking for an easy switch in here. So we don't need to attack because obviously we can't. And then he's just going to knock me out, which is fine. So the Machop is going to go away. At least it'd be smart. So the smart play is going to be moving into the Machoke, because the Machoke is going to get to the Machamp. Frostmoth gets knocked out, and then whatever he sends out, because now he's at a energy disadvantage, because I already have a point on board, and that's his first point. So Machoke comes out. The Machamp is now here. So I think it's pretty much GG's at this point, because what's going to happen is Frostmoth is knocked out, and then he's either going to send in the Wigglytuff. Both of them are at disadvantage, so it's pretty much just GG's at this point. Yep. And that's it. Fergus, thanks so much for sharing the live. Appreciate you. I'm glad you like me kind of thinking out loud in real time and preventing people from getting the 5 consecutive badges. Basically playing as a gym leader right now. In the no coins, all fist category. And thanks so much for liking the live, Fergus. Yeah, this game has been very fun. I've been really enjoying Pocket. I didn't think I would enjoy it as much. I thought I would enjoy it, but not to the level that I am now. And then obviously going second in this game currently is really good. But especially with Machop, like you're constantly putting pressure, right? Because the Machop is the one, and then you get to evolve next turn, and then the Machoke is 2 energy, and then 3. It's real. You get the momentum building so fast. But we're gonna see. Obviously we're at a disadvantage currently, but we are going to see what we can do. Libby, thanks so much for liking the live. Appreciate you. All right, so we can't do much because we can't switch the Machop. That's the only thing that's kind of sad about the Machop, is that it's high retreat cost, but it's fine. We'll just basically poke a little bit because we want to try to get that Ralts out. And then the Drowsy, you know, it's kind of my main focus is not making that Gardevoir online. That's really the biggest threat currently. So there's the Kirlia. They'll probably use an X speed or just retreat, one of the two. Yep. So he's retreating. Is not good. Because now my Sabrina is essentially dead because we have 2 Mewtwo EX. And depending on where he puts that second energy will kind of help me determine what he has in his hand, but not really. That's kind of the risk reward that we have. So I'm just gonna, there's really no reason for me just to load the lead Machop with anything. So I'm just gonna load the back one and just chip. That's all we can do. Chip damage. Hope we draw into an oak or something to get, because we have the Machamp in hand. We just need the Machoke. I do run some other decks. And boy howdy, we are not getting what we need, which is no bueno. Because I really don't want a red card, because right now he's showing that he doesn't have the Guard of War, because he would have flopped that thing down. Tyler, thanks so much for following. I don't know if I said that or not. All right, so the research. So he's used one research, and he does not have the Guard of War. So he used a potion, he used a research. So the correct play here for the red card would be to use it, because he is down a research, he still doesn't have it, and he has, I mean, it's pretty much chalked anyway, because I'm not drawing a research, I'm not drawing a Machoke. But we're gonna hit him with a red card, hoping that he has something that he'll just kind of dead draw into, or just give him the Guard of War. It's always kind of the risk of the red card after that. But and then really the only thing that we can do if we want to try to stay alive, because he could have a Giovanni and just completely KO me, is that we just have to Sabrina, just hope for the best, because we just need to stall an extra turn just to get something online. Because otherwise, if he has a Sabrina, he's just gonna send my Machop out. So that's kind of the name of the game currently. Is just stall for an extra turn, but not looking too good. Not looking too good, because the Mewtwo EX is probably either gonna set up in the back. So still, no, you have to have a Gardevoir, right? At this point. Yep. Yeah, it is pretty much a GG, chat. It is pretty much GG. Because he's just going to start stacking. And then he's already... I'm asleep. I mean, unless I draw... Ooh. We could... We could have a chance. In some planet, we could have a chance. Unless he Sabrinas me and I'm cooked anyway. Because the Machamp... Because right now, he used a potion. I could Giovanni over the current Mewtwo EX. So unless he doesn't put his energy in the right spot, which he kind of does. It's not very good, but... So I do still have one... what's it called in? Sabrina. Okay. Okay, so we could... There is a possibility that we can come back from this. We just really have to be careful at how we play our cards here. So I'm not putting Meowth down. I do not want to get a free Sabrina. That's not happening. So we're going to put the Machamp down. Put this down for whatever reason, because we can. So Giovanni. So we're going to knock out the Mewtwo. So we got that too. So really the big thing, because he's probably going to just launch the Mewtwo EX. That's the thing that won't get one hit KO'd. We do have another Sabrina still left in deck. So if we draw exactly the Sabrina, we win the game. And so 7 cards left in deck. And we wake up. And we wake up. Because if we don't wake up and we draw Sabrina, we're kind of cooked. So you're going to hit me for 80. So let's wake up. And we're dead. And we're done. Well, and we didn't draw the Sabrina anyway. Because what's going to happen is that just goes to 40 and we're cooked. GG's, you have earned yourself a progression to your badge. Dax, thanks so much for liking the live. We almost made it. If we drew in the Sabrina and we woke up, obviously that's kind of, you know, that all has to happen. But all right, guys, which deck do you want me to play? I'll let you pick. So currently I'm rocking 6 because I'm too lazy to build more. So I have Miasma, which is just Weezing, Arbok, Wigglytuff, Frostbite, which is Articuno, Greninja, Eden, which is Executor, and Venusaur. We just played no coin, so I'm not going to do that. Nightmare, which is just Weezing and Gengar EX, and then Electrodynamics, which is just a Pikachu EX. More or less. Does anyone have a preference? If not, I'm just going to try to keep playing my non-meta-ish decks. Nightmare, let's do it. So here's the Nightmare build. So we're just rocking the Weezing Gengar and just hope that we get it. Because I tried doing the I tried playing around with the Psyduck one, and it's good to a degree, but I really like the flexibility of the Weezing, because the one big pain point that I noticed with Gengar EX is like the 100 does end you kind of short sometimes, so the Weezing kind of is nice for that chip damage and to start building the Gengar in the back, which I kind of like. And so by the time you get the Weezing off and the Gengar in, there should be enough chip damage around the board that puts you in a pretty good spot to win the game. But that's the biggest thing I've noticed about the Gengar EX build, is that it's like it kind of gets, it's tough to get going. But then there's another argument that a lot of people say, which, like, I understand why people say it, is, you know, when you're using, like, when you're trying to go against supporters, like, most of the supporters that you use are more early game. And I agree, like, to an extent, but, like, a lot of good players hold on to those supporters if, like, when they need them. Like, that's why I like kind of Sabrinas. Like, I love using a Sabrina early game and late game. Early game to kind of burn an energy if I need an extra turn, and then like, obviously end Sabrina's, like, if they have something floating in the back, you can just kind of hit it, right? But that's kind of my frame of thinking on it. So let's see. So what happens here? So I think we're going to, since we have 2 Coughings and 2 Kogas, we can kind of afford to burn an energy to retreat the Ghastly here. So I think that is what I'm going to do. So we're gonna do that. And then the other thing I think I'm going to do is just to burn. Again, I really kind of want to, do I really want to do that though? Because what happens? Because you could hit me for 70. You could hit me for 70 and you cure your poison. So I think I'm actually going to Sabrina here. So I'm going to Sabrina here, get some damage on the Vulpix while it's still in its basic state. And then even if you use the Ninetales, at least you use it early, so I know that you have it. So we're just gonna pass there. And I don't know why this deck is running Psychic. I definitely had this deck not use. Oh, you know what I'm thinking of? That's so funny. I was thinking of that's so funny. I was thinking I was playing Miasma for a second, because that's so funny. So for context, I was thinking I was playing a different deck because I have Wheezing in the other one that is dark specific. So I haven't touched this deck in weeks. And so I thought I was playing the other ones. Like, why am I not seeing darkness energy? And so that's why I auto quit, because I thought I had the wrong energy on, but this is in fact correct. So I basically just gave that mana free win. Anyway, let's get back into it. Now that I'm knowing what deck I'm playing, we're gonna get back into it. So I have to remember that this version is playing the Wheezing deck where it's just poison damage, because I've been playing nothing but the other one for so long. That's so funny. All right, let's try that again. Good lead. So I like to see. And that's what's kind of nice too about having a Wheezing build, because you're kind of like have pseudo Giovanni's you have pseudo Giovanni's and really aggressive X speeds baked in, and a wall. Like a Wheezing wall is so good in a lot of different cases. That's so funny. I can't believe I thought I was playing a different deck. Okay, that's a good sign. So let's see if we can get the Ghastly. We can. Okay, so we're gonna start setting that up. We have the X speed, so we don't waste the energy. We're in a good spot. We're in a very good spot. So 2 Curlia. Perfect. That's exactly what we want to see. So we do the gas leak, start chipping away at that Curlia, put the Haunter on. I personally like the original Haunter. I really don't like the new event one, where it has 1 less HP and a coin flip for more damage. Like, I'd rather have the guaranteed 30 versus the 50 or 0, in my opinion. And honestly, that extra 10 health does kind of factor in every now and again. Okay, so now we're in a good spot. So now because he has the Abra, we're in a pretty good position here. So he's already poisoned, so that won't matter. So we're gonna Koga and start putting that pressure, that support pressure, which is gonna be huge. Put that there, and we're just gonna start poking. And right now, because 30, 60, 90, because he would do 150 if he has the Alakazam. That's very interesting. So you're basically going to lose your Kadabra? That I don't understand. Because now he's just going to lose his Kadabra. And you don't have an Abra set up, so I'm no longer afraid of the Alakazam sweep. Yeah, I that's very questionable. If it were me, I would have had the Gardevoir, because I would have had to use I would have had exactly Giovanni, and he would have lived an extra turn, or he would have had an extra turn to do something. So he should have set the Gardevoir out for sure. So now I don't have to worry about like extra energy on the Gengar. I can have extra to retreat if I'm seeing a threat. But yeah, you don't need to put it in a top. I would just say put it in a sleeve and then just put it inside of the heavy book. Okay. In chat, this is what I like to call BMing 101, right? So I just drew the win. So this is how you do it. So first you put an extra energy on Gengar. Next, you play the X speed, making him now think, why are you retreating with a Gengar? You're gonna make me win. Oh wait, I have Sabrina. And now we win the game. The X speed BMs are real. I mean, I don't have Giovanni as my profile picture for nothing, chat. I don't have it for nothing. Better luck next time. Hopefully your streak is better. But you're not getting the badge on my watch. Tell you that right now. I actually made that comment on a video not too long ago. Because like someone's like, oh, like I just like to concede. I like to concede to give people the free win. I, on the other hand, I want to be, this is my first time I actually feel like a legitimate gym leader. It's like, if you want this badge from me, if you want this 5-win consecutive badge, you're going to have to get it through me. And I'm going to try my hardest for you not to get it. Say what you will, whatever that means. I don't know, from like a subconscious level. I don't know what that means, but that's how I feel. All right, chat. I think that is going to do it for me. So thank you guys for hanging out with me tonight. Another great review in the books, episode 46. A lot of really cool submissions that were tonight. A lot of fun interactions with you guys as always. Always appreciate you guys hanging out with me on Wednesdays. The fact that we've done even 46 is pretty impressive. So I always appreciate the love and support. Definitely means a lot. So as always, I do have great reviews every Wednesday. So if you guys want to come back, I have streams every Wednesday starting at 7:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's going to be episode 47. Additionally, I have continuing cleaning my childhood collection on Monday, which is also going to happen. Ferg, thanks so much for the follow. Appreciate that. And yeah, appreciate all the love and support. Can't thank you guys enough. And I will catch you in the next one.